Welcome to part 6 in this series of videos where we will be creating a birthday reminders application using Blazor Server. In this video, we'll be adding some Syncfusion controls to our project and obtaining the Syncfusion license. The principal reason for adding a control or component library is that by using third-party component libraries, we'll be making programming simpler. They will also, or they can also add a visual richness that would also require a lot of programming. So why Syncfusion? There are a number of reasons I have alighted on Syncfusion. For individuals and companies with fewer than 5 employees and a turnover of less than $1 million, there is a free community license. This is obviously an important point for me. I also happen to like the look and feel of the Syncfusion controls, but recognise that this is a personal preference. From my admittedly limited experience, I've also had a good response from Syncfusion's support, and I have normally found the information I needed from documentation or their forum. For even-handedness, I'm going to put a link in the description to other Blazor component libraries. Some are free, some have free trials, and others are quite expensive. I haven't tried any other than Syncfusion, so I'm not in a position to make any kind of recommendation. So what have we got to do in this video? Well, first of all, we've got to install the Syncfusion Blazor component libraries, and we'll be using the NuGet packages manager within Visual Studio 2022 to do that. Then we need to modify the C# code, and I'm going to be following the Syncfusion documentation to achieve this. Then we need to get a Syncfusion license key. Even though we're going to be using a community license and it's free, we still need to get the license key and add it to the project. And lastly, I'm going to be moving the license key to appsettings.json so that it's not revealed to any person that we might show our code to, such as loading it up to GitHub. So let's make a start. In Visual Studio, we want to add the NuGet packages. I've already added some to save a little bit of time. There are several ways of doing this, but I'm going to go to Project, Manage NuGet Packages, and I'm going to browse for syncfusion.blazor. And you see the top one comes up is syncfusion.blazor. That one is all the individual component libraries, or from version 18.4 of Syncfusion, we've been able to just install the individual components that we need. That is the recommended way of installing Syncfusion, so that's the method we're going to follow. So the ones we want are, amongst others, calendar, core, drop-downs, grid, inputs, notifications, and pop-ups. I've already installed some of these to save a little bit of time, but if I select core, that's when I haven't, and we choose to install it. Follow the instructions. You might get a license box that you have to agree to the license to, but I haven't on this occasion, probably because I've already accepted it on one of the other controls. So if I now look at installed and Syncfusion Blazor, these are the ones that we need for this project. In fact, we might not need some of these, but I've taken the precaution of installing them all, including this one called Syncfusion Blazor.themes. So that's the basic installation of the NuGet package. Now we're going to follow the instructions from the Syncfusion documentation to finish off the installation here. So if we look at those instructions, I'll put a link to the documentation page in the description. The first thing is we've created our app, we've installed the packages, and the first thing we need to do is to register the service. So I'll copy that and that has to go into imports. So I open the imports folder, underscore imports, and I'll paste that in here. The next thing we need to do, now you have to be careful here because we're now using .NET 6 and the instructions are different from .NET 6 and for .NET 5. So it's the .NET 6 instructions that we want. And for this, we need to add this to the program.cs. So we need to copy using Syncfusion Blazor and put that at the top of programs. Go up here. So that goes at the top of program.cs. And we also need to add this line here to the services container. So if we scroll down here, add to the services container, so we could put it at the bottom here. Then we need to add a style sheet. So we've already downloaded the Blazor themes, Syncfusion Blazor themes. That was one of the ones we downloaded earlier. So in the layout file, we need to add this link in the head section. So we can, I'll put it here. And what I'll say at this stage is that it defaults to Bootstrap 5. There are various other CSS themes that can be used, such as Fabric and Material and some dark themes. Again, I'll put a link to the alternatives in the description. We now need to add a script reference. So this is the bit of code that we need here, and to be completely honest, I don't really know what this does, but I'm just following the instructions, and that goes under the Bootstrap line. And because in the imports we're not using, we're not just using calendars. We need to, well, we are using calendars, but we'll need to list all those other individual components. So I will go to the imports file and do that. So imports, and to save time, I've got that on some text. So it's these that we need. And going back to the documentation, that should be it. So we've followed the instructions here. So we should have now got the Syncfusion components installed, but we haven't licensed them yet. So the next stage is to license them. To do that, we need to go to syncfusion.com. And if you haven't got an account already, you'll need to create an account. It's not terribly difficult. There are a few hoops to jump through, but nothing that should deter anyone. Once you've got an account, log in. And when you're logged in, you'll see hi, and then your name or however you've registered, and click the drop down here and select My Dashboard. When this page opens, we need license and downloads. And it's downloads and keys we want, and it is only the key. So we select Get License Key, select the platform, which in our case is just Blazor, and the version. Now, if there's any delay between downloading your or installing your NuGet package and coming to get the license, just make sure that there hasn't been a version in between, so make sure you select the right version here. Then it's just get license key. I'll do that off screen, and I'll copy that to the clipboard. Once you've got your license key, go back to Visual Studio, and we need to register it. And to do that, we go to programs.cs. And again, I've got this on some text, so I don't have to type it out in front of you. So in the program, so we need to place this after the var app equals builder.build. So I'll copy that and paste it in here. So you would replace it with your license key that you have downloaded from the Syncfusion website. Now, there's a small problem with this in that we're putting our license key in program.cs. And if one's loading one's code up to something like GitHub, one doesn't really want to put license keys in program.cs because they could well be visible. So much better to add it to appsettings.json and then in here read the settings from appsettings.json and exclude appsettings.json from the upload to GitHub using the gitignore file. That's really the subject for a different video, but I think that's the better way of doing it. So what we need to do that is to add to appsettings. This line, Syncfusion license key, and then whatever your Syncfusion license key is. That's the one that you'll have downloaded from Syncfusion. This is the important bit, Syncfusion license key, and we'll be reading that in program.cs. So we now go to program.cs and we replace what we've got here with some slightly different code. Which is this. And what that does is we're creating a var called Syncfusion license key, and we're reading it from app settings using this builder.configuration, and then it's reading the Syncfusion license key item in appsettings.json and substituting it in here for the license key that we had before. So that should work. Let's give it a go just to check everything's still working. We of course have to log in. And everything's still working. I mean, there's no great change here, but it does at least work. So that, I think, concludes the initial setup that we need for our application. We've done quite a lot so far, but we haven't really got very much to show for it. Hopefully, the next video we'll actually start putting some meat on the bones and create a form so that we can at least read data coming from SQL and possibly even write data to SQL. That's coming up. Thank you very much for watching this. As I say, I'll put links in the description for a number of different resources that I think could be useful. Thank you very much for watching, and the next video should be coming along relatively soon. Thank you.